Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here at Yager Stadium in Oxford, Ohio, home of the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, the reigning MAC champions from last season, a team that went 11-3, an unbelievable year for Chuck Martin's squad. And now, entering 2024, yeah, they lose a handful of starters here and there, but this is still a reloaded squad, but with a much tougher schedule. So the question is, can they repeat as conference champions? We take a look at their roster. 6 starters back on offense, led by their star quarterback, Brett Gabbert. Threw for over 1,600 yards, 14 touchdowns, has battled injuries throughout his career here in Oxford, but had a solid year last year. 2 of his top 3 wide receivers do return, and Cade McDonald and Javon Tracy. Their starting offensive line looks very, very strong, but the biggest loss for them is losing Rashad Amos. Losing your star running back is a big loss for this Miami, Ohio team. One that averaged 165 passing yards per game, not all that great, but one that did average 158 rushing yards per game. So they're going to have to find a replacement for Amos. They're going to have to find a guy to kind of carry the heavy workload. Defensively, they're going to be strong. By far, to me, the strength of this team. 6 starters back there as well, including their top 2 tacklers, and Matt Salopek and Ty Wise. Salopek, 144 tackles last year. Wise, 122 tackles last year. This team only allowed 15.9 points per game. And while those marks might be a little bit higher this year, this still has the makings of maybe being the best defense in the MAC. You take a look at their schedule, guys. Here's the difference maker for Miami, Ohio, right? Last year, 11-3, unbelievable season, won the conference, upset Toledo in that game. Their non-conference schedule was very favorable. They had to play Miami in the season opener. That was a loss. But then they had to play UMass, Cincinnati, where they snapped their 16-game losing streak to the Bearcats, and Delaware State. It was not the most difficult non-conference slate. This year, Northwestern, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and UMass. So some 3 power conference opponents on their schedule in the non-conference. Going to make their record go down a little bit, because I do believe they lose their first 3 games to Northwestern, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame. Northwestern, I think they'll play the Wildcats a little bit close. Year 2 under David Braun, they've got some questions on both sides of the ball, but they have a handful of starters back. Mike Wright transfers in at quarterback from Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, and they've got a very strong front 7 from a team that won 8 games last year. Then they take on Cincinnati. They snapped that 16-game losing streak like we mentioned last year. They were 14-point underdogs in that game, but Cincinnati should have won. They shot themselves in the foot so many times. This Miami, Ohio defense held the Bearcats to 3 field goals inside the 10-yard line. That was the difference maker. One of those is a touchdown. Cincinnati wins the game in regulation. Instead, the Redhawks pulled off the historic upset despite being outgained by nearly 200 yards. Now they get to host them here. It's going to be a rocking crowd here at Yager Stadium, but Cincinnati, much improved, not going to fall again to Miami, Ohio. Then on the road at Notre Dame, obviously a top 10 team, maybe a college football playoff contender. Miami, Ohio simply does not stand a chance, I believe, against the Fighting Irish. But they get their first win of the year against UMass. So they snap the 0-3 start, and there's no need to panic. Again, last year's non-conference slate was very, very favorable. This year's not so much. That's to be expected with some of these Group of 5 programs. So they start 0-3, beat UMass to 1-3. Then they go on the road to Toledo, to the Glass Bowl, a very difficult place to play. Where under Jason Candle, the Rockets are 37-9. It's very hard to win there. Now they've got a young but experienced quarterback in Tucker Gleason coming back. Their top 4 wide receivers as well. 3 of their top 4 tacklers. In this rematch of the MAC title game from last year, a game that Miami, Ohio did win 23-14, Toledo gets their revenge. I believe the offense is clicking by October 5th for Toledo, despite DeQuan Finn transferring out to Baylor. The defense can match Miami, I believe, step for step. Home field advantage plays a key role, and they drop that game to go to 1-4. And again, everybody's freaking out. They've already exceeded last year's loss total. 11-3 last year, now already 1-4. Are they going to even make a bowl game? Yes, they are, because the MAC isn't that strong this year. They lose to Toledo, but then they win against Eastern Michigan, Ohio, Central Michigan, Ball State, Kent State, and Northern Illinois. They win 6 straight games following that loss to Toledo, and here's why. You go through it quickly. Eastern Michigan, they've got a new quarterback. They lose their star running back in Samson Evans. They got a lot to replace on both sides of the ball. It is the Eastern Michigan offense that averaged less than 20 points per game. They're not going to have enough to exploit this Miami defense, so that's a win there. Ohio, they beat the Bobcats 30-16 on the road last year. The Redhawks did. 6 starters are back total for the Bobcats, including just 2 on offense. So a lot of losses on both sides there. Bobcats going to struggle, especially here at home, especially against this defense. They beat the Bobcats. Central Michigan, 13 starters are back. They're going to be improved under Jim McElwain. I like this Chippewa squad a little bit, but they gave up 160 rushing yards per game. That might be a game where we finally see some breakout star for Miami here, especially in the running game. So they beat the Chippewas at home. On the road to Ball State, I like this series because it's been so close. The last 4 games have been decided by 1 possession between the Cardinals and the Redhawks. That includes last year, 17-15 win for Miami, Ohio, an 18-17 win in 2022. So the last 2 meetings have been decided by 3 combined points. This year, though, Miami wins by at least 10 points. They win by at least double digits. Ball State only 1 starter back on defense. They don't have the size, strength, or speed to contend with the Redhawks, even with home field advantage there. Coming out of their bye week, they take on one of the most inexperienced teams in college football in Kent State. Kent State was the most inexperienced team in all of college football last year. They're going to improve statistically, but nowhere near to the point of contending here at Yager Stadium, nowhere near to the point of contending in the MAC. They beat the Golden Flashes, a team that, again, only averaged 14.7 points per game last year. They beat Northern Illinois, that has to deal with a new quarterback. I like this team a lot. Northern Illinois is maybe a sneaky team that could challenge for a MAC title this year, but home field advantage, defense, better quarterback play, going to be the difference maker for Miami. And that sets them up, guys. They're looking at 7-4. 7-4, only, 1 conference loss to Toledo. Great opportunity to get back to the MAC championship game. But this Bowling Green game on the road on November 29th could prove dire, could be different. In terms of who gets to go, who maybe gets to play Toledo, who gets to play Northern Illinois, whatever happens there. I got to call for a loss for the Falcons, or for the Redhawks. Almost got you there, didn't I? I had to go for a loss for the Redhawks. I like this Bowling Green team a lot. I like Carnaby St returning at quarterback. They returned their top rusher. They returned their top pass catcher. They returned 8 of their top 11 tacklers, and they returned 15 starters overall. This is a dangerous Falcons team that over the last few years has been able to make the postseason and be more competitive in the MAC. I expect that to be the case again this year. MAC title contenders? No. Upsetting Miami, Ohio in the season finale on their senior day? Yes. Give me that win, which means we have the Miami, Ohio Redhawks going 7-5 in 2024. And to many, you look at that and go, wow, what a drop-off. 11 wins to 7 wins, 10 regular season wins to 7 wins. Man, that's a disappointing season. It's really not when you consider they're only losing 2 conference games in our eyes to Toledo and Bowling Green, both on the road. They could beat Northwestern. They could beat Cincinnati. Both of those, to me, are winnable games. I just like those power teams a little bit better. But regardless, this is still a bowl team. This is still a MAC preseason favorite to go on and win the conference. And they have a very good opportunity to win their 2nd straight conference title, again, as the MAC's winningest program. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. You know, we're doing a couple group of 5 on-site predictions this year. We typically don't do it for each team, but we're happy to be doing it now here at Yager Stadium in Oxford. We got plenty more coming your way, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below, including our website, thegridironexpert.com, home of those expert picks. Again, everything down there for you to become a member of our GE Nation. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.